Hey guys, it's Katie, Girl About Library, and I'm here today with my November reading wrap-up. I read 6 books, kind of 7, but really 6, in the month of November. I also reached my Goodreads reading goal this month, so pretty excited for me. Pretty excited. I didn't reach it last year, and that was rough. So, before I get started on this though, I need to say hello to the 500, almost 600 people who were not here the last time I posted a wrap-up. Hi. What? Comment down below if you are new. I was actually kind of, full disclosure, kind of nervous to film this today because it's fun to see your subscriber count grow. Like, it is also weird to feel like you've been talking to friends and now you're like, there's new people and you're kind of like, I'm a little nervous. I'm excited to meet all of you. So if you're a new subscriber and you're watching this, please comment down below. If you're not a new subscriber and you're watching this, subscribe. I would love to have you here. But yeah, if you're new here, I want to say hi to you. So please comment down below and say hi to me and let's be friends. Also, if you've been here since the beginning, please say hi and I love you. So usually I don't have a usually. I have tried going in order, like just the way that I've read them. I've tried going randomly. Neither of those are helpful. I don't know why I do that. So I am going to talk about the most loved book this month and then go down to the there really wasn't anything that disappointed me this month. There are just books that I didn't connect with or I don't have a lot to say about. So we're gonna start with the best and work our way down to the not best. There was some solid this month. Yeah. First up is This Is How It Always Is by Lori Frankel. This book is amazing and I am so glad that I read it. I buddy read this with Brittany Fiasco Reads. I will link her channel down below as well as the videos that we did for that buddy read vlog. That was such a fun project. I'm so glad and grateful that Brittany invited me to do that with her and that she sent me this book. This book follows a young child named Claude. I think when the story starts, Claude is 5 years old. He's about to start kindergarten. Claude expresses interest in wearing dresses, in wearing bikinis at the pool, in doing things that society typically associates with girls. As the story continues, you follow Claude and his parents and his whole family. Everyone is so well developed in this book. The writing is beautiful and amazing, and I can't say enough good things about this. As the story continues, you follow Claude and his parents as they try to find the best. It's so hard to talk about this book because I don't want to give anything away, but it's also one of those books where there's so much character development. There's not that many plot-based things that happen. It's all character development. And it's such a unique reading experience too, because I expected this book to feel very controversial, but because it's so deeply rooted in these feelings that are so true. Claude's parents are amazing in this. They are just so hopeful, but also so protective, and they're just doing the damnedest every day to help their child, and it was great. It was so many feelings. I cried reading this book. It was emotional. I think I'm gonna start collecting photographic evidence of every time a book makes me cry, because I did not used to be a crier, but now, not hair trigger when I'm reading books, I'm not crying, but I used to not be a crier in entertainment, movies, books, whatever. It just wasn't my thing. But now movies, especially when the music swells, I'm done. But books not having that music, I'm kind of surprised still when they hit me in the feels, and this book did. There was a particular point in the book where I lost it, and definitely recommend this book. Check it out. It is also own voices, as the author has a child who's transgender as well, and so it was just such an interesting peek behind what that is what the experience is as a child, what the experience is as a parent. It was something else, guys, so go read it. Next up, in books that I super enjoyed this month, was The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls. I read this for Nonfiction November. It was also a reread. It was also a buddy read. I read this with Jade at Bedtime Bookworm, and I will link her channel down below. If you're not subscribed to her, you should be. She is great. She also just finished NaNoWriMo, and I'm so proud of her. I don't understand how people do that thing. It is amazing to me, and I'm so proud of her for finishing, so way to go, Jade. The Glass Castle is a nonfiction memoir. It follows Jeanette Walls from her early childhood. I think the story starts when she's about 4 or 5 and continues into her adulthood. Her parents are the literal worst, and the poor decisions that they make as parents kind of like drive the story. This book is so well written. It's a beautiful story. It was also really hard for me to read at times because it was just so frustrating and really drove home like how little control children have when they have terrible parents who are making terrible decisions. Every avenue of support that they could have received, every opportunity that they had was just squandered. You just want to like shake both of her parents throughout the book. The first time I read this book, I wasn't a parent. The second time I'm reading it, I am, and it definitely made a difference in my perception of these people. Like at first, I think my first time reading it, I was just fascinated with the story. My second time reading it, I was low-key pissed, like the entire time. For example, the book starts when Jeanette is 4. She's making herself some hot dogs naturally, you know, 4-year-olds, boiling water. It's also the kind of stove that has like an open flame. And as she's boiling herself hot dogs for lunch, because her mom is too busy painting to help her, she lights her dress on fire and is like engulfed in flames. They have to take her to the hospital. She's admitted for burn wounds. They have to like do skin grafts. It's terrifying. And I have a 3-year-old, so it just really like, there's no way. I like the level of selfishness, it's so frustrating. But it's also so interesting to see how Jeanette has processed all of this, how her siblings have processed all of it. And it's truly miraculous and like so inspiring to see what Jeanette made of herself. And like, it's a beautiful story, but it is also really frustrating. I was surprised how much I enjoyed this book too, because it was a reread, and I never reread books like ever. I can't remember the last time I did it. It's a problem. I should do it more. Why do I keep books if I'm not going to reread them? All those books back there. Why? It's been about 6 years since the first time I read it, and I think that that's gonna be like my marker, like 5 or 6 years, because I remembered enough to know that I liked the book. I remembered enough to be like excited about reading it, but I didn't remember any of the like exact plot points. It was just really enjoyable, and I'm glad that I did that, and I should reread books more because what? Of course. There are some people who really enjoy doing that. If you like rereading books, comment down below and tell me your favorite book to reread, because I think memoirs might actually be my favorite type of book to reread because there's so many different plot points and like my experience of reading them is so different, and let me know. Next up is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab, and I love this book and I'm so excited. Never would have guessed that I would have liked this book as much as I did. I read this for book club. We went to Texas Book Fest and saw V.E. Victoria speak, and she was just so insightful and brilliant and like just a wonderful person. One of my favorite things about going to author events is like really getting a sense of the author's like motivations in writing and like how deeply they've thought about what they've written. And after that, I was so excited to read this book. I'm even more excited that I liked it because you guys, the odds could not have been more stacked against this book. Like, this was like the David and Goliath of reading experiences. It wasn't even a fair fight, and the book still won. So much stuff happens in this book, like I kind of hesitate to even explain it because so many other people have done amazing book reviews for this book and sum it up so much better than I can. So I will link it that down below. I think the reason why I liked this fantasy book, as someone who generally doesn't like fantasy, there's a couple of reasons. One, this is a well-built magic system. There were only a couple of times where it became a little bit too much for me. It was a little cringy. For the most part, very well-built system, didn't question it too much. There was a lot of character development in this. Like, you really got to know the characters, their motivations. Like, it wasn't just all magic all the time. If you had taken all of the magic out, there was still a really good fiction story to be told. Also, I liked that it didn't feel like it was like a metaphor for something else, which I should probably check and make sure that it isn't, because I might be lying and just totally missed it. So 1 second. I don't know, let me know down below if there's like a metaphor working here. But for me reading it, it was just pure fantasy and story And while there are so many good books that have that kind of built into it, like Handmaid's Tale, 1984, like, and others, a really good, like, exciting, like, fantasy story with action and character development, all of the good things. You don't necessarily want this other, like, layer on top of it that you have to, like, match up and analyze. And it was a nice break from that. And so I like that too. Yeah, I'm gonna continue in the series. I'm gonna continue in a fantasy series, guys. Like, this is groundbreaking. I also read An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. I have a 60-second book review for that. I will link it above and below. This book was just shy of being a favorite for the month. It was 3.5 stars. It wasn't bad. Not a bad book. Don't not read this because of me. Do not. To me, 4 stars is like, I would recommend this book. I would give it to other people. I would, like, this represents me as a reader. And I can't say that about this book, but it was still really enjoyable to read. It follows a woman named April. April is going home from work one day in New York City, and she sees what she thinks is an art installation. It kind of looks like a robot. It's, you know, it's huge. And she, like, is kind of in this place where she is feeling like people should respect art more and respect the effort that goes into that. And so she has a friend named Andy, and Andy is, like, kind of into YouTube. He has podcasts. And so she calls up her friend Andy and asks him to come down and meet her there and film this art thing so that other people can appreciate it. So they film this video, Andy uploads it, and like overnight, April goes viral. In part because April is incredibly charming and likable, and also because there are 20 other robot sculptures that have been nicknamed Carl across the world, like in major cities. And so it's this big news story, and she becomes kind of the face for that. I absolutely loved April's character. Even when I didn't like April, I really liked her character. I like what Hank did with it. About halfway through the book though, it kind of took a turn. It focuses less on April and her interpersonal relationships and the effect of this like sudden fame and everything that comes along with that. And it focused more on what would happen politically if something like the Carls showed up. It felt very real to life, but I feel like the heart of the novel, like the real strength in Hank's writing, was in April. And so when it took that turn and focused more on the political aspects, while incredibly realistic and, you know, important, it didn't have the same effect for me as a reader, and so kind of lost me there. I'm really excited to see what else happens in this story. Like, I know there's another book coming out. Next up is Pieces of Her by Karen Slatter. And, whew, this book. Let me get my receipts. It had such a good premise, and I was so excited about it. It was kind of like going on a really good date. Like, the guy seems like type, talking, things seem to be going well. Maybe you've even met him before, because I've read another Karen Slatter book and really enjoyed it. But then you settle in for like a long, you know, like a 500 pages long conversation, and you find out that this guy is the worst. Doesn't make any sense. He says crazy things, and you never want to see him again, but like you have to finish the date so that you can find out what happens at the end of it. It's not totally working, but you understand what I'm trying to say. This book was not what I expected, and I'm disappointed. Plot-wise, it was great. Like, for the first, like, fourth of the book especially, it was, like, here for it. And then it just, like, there was just, like, really sloppy writing. Like, just kind of, like, plot hole type stuff. And then the biggest thing, though, the biggest one where I was just like, what did I just read? Is this real life? I had to take a emotional mental break from this book and like the sloppy writing when this happened. So part of the book is set in Austin, Texas, which is where I live. Fairly familiar with it. But the thing that she said could have been solved so quickly, like if you don't already know this, quick Google search. Problem solved. Okay. Dark clouds had rolled in. Andy backed out of the space and followed the signs toward UT Austin. The sprawling campus took up 40 acres of prime real estate. So obviously she's Googled UT Austin, because I don't think the 40 acres part is like common knowledge. There was a medical school and hospital, a law school, all kinds of liberal arts programs. And despite not having its own football team, countless Texas Longhorns flags and bumper stickers. What? What are you talking about? Despite not having its own football team, countless Texas Longhorn flags. That's the football team, sis. You know when someone says something like super wrong and you just like immediately have to discount a lot of the other things that they've said because if you think that, then maybe the other stuff, not so much. Obviously that like single poor like writing research choice doesn't make me not recommend this book. There was other stuff going on as well that there are better Karen Slaughter books to read. The Good Daughter is another one I've read. Very, very good. So check that one out. Don't read this one. We're gonna cycle through the last two pretty quickly because I don't have that much to say about them. I listened to, in conclusion, Don't Worry About It by Lauren Graham. This is like a 26-minute listen on, I think I got it on Scribd, but it might also be on Hoopla or Overdrive. It was okay. I love her other book. Like, I have read it multiple times. That's a book I've reread. And it's a memoir. Okay, this one was a little underwhelming though. Like it's really just a speech that she gave, a graduation speech that's just kind of like a little more fleshed out. I hope that she writes another book. I don't have anything else to say. It wasn't bad. I don't understand how it's an entire book. It kind of felt like a money grab, not from Lauren, but like just like as publishers do. And so that kind of was frustrating. I just expected like more, but it was a good story overall, but like, I mean, really it's just a graduation speech. Like you can YouTube that. So I don't know why it needed to be a book, but, and last but not least, I read The Bear and The Nightingale and it was just okay. You know those books you read at the beginning of the month and then you like go back and try and reflect if you do things like this. You go back and like think about it and you can't remember anything. Like it was only 30 days ago, but you still can't remember anything. Part of that is because I read a good chunk of it in October, but I finished it in November because that's when my book club met. But I couldn't make it to book club, which is so frustrating when you've read the book and then you can't go because it's like when you had to take a test and you were sick that day and you're like, no, like I'm ready. My heart is ready to take this thing. Please let me take the test. And now I don't remember anything about it. It didn't make an impression on me. It wasn't my favorite book of the month by far. There wasn't anything wrong with it. I can see why people like it. It just isn't my thing. So that's it. So that was my reading for the month of November. Let me know down below the best and the worst book that you read in the month of November. I love getting your answers to that question and chatting with you guys about it down below in the comments because sometimes you read some pretty bad books and sometimes you read books that I'm really excited about and it gets me hyped. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and thank you again so much for reading, watching this video, subscribing, doing all of the things. Thank you. Have a great day.